Sonic the Hedgehog 3 tells the story of Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails who reunite against a powerful new adversary, Shadow, a mysterious villain with powers unlike anything they faced before. With their abilities outmatched, Team Sonic must seek out an unlikely alliance. Now, I am a big fan of the Sonic movies. I'm not a big gamer, but I really enjoy the Sonic movies for what they are. They're charming, fun, enjoyable, and I was really excited to see what they were going to be doing with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, bringing in Shadow and bringing in Gerald Robotnik. I was really intrigued to see what they were going to be doing. The trailers looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, and the first two movies are charming, enjoyable, and fun. And a lot of that has to do with the dedication that Jeff Fowler puts into this franchise because he digs deep into the lore. He plays the video games, so he knows how to construct these movies so it can be enjoyable not just for the fans of the video game, but people that haven't played the video games. And so if you're somebody that has never played a Sonic game, you're not going to be lost. You're just going to not be as excited or thrilled when those Easter eggs from the video games happen, because that's exactly what happened to me. I was in an auditorium with fans of the video games and they were cheering at every single Easter egg. There was a lot of big pops, and as somebody that really enjoys this franchise, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 still delivers everything that I really enjoy about the first two Sonic movies. These movies are not masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination. They're just there to really entertain you and be able to have a really good time, and that's exactly what I had with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The thing that really holds this movie together is the dynamics between Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. We get a lot of them in here, and just seeing how Sonic the Hedgehog 2 ended with bringing in Shadow, it makes the stakes feel a little bit higher than they were in the other two films, and it still brings in the charm and the fun that you expect from these Sonic movies, plus also throwing in a lot of references to the video games for the fans. While I think this is the best out of the trilogy, there are some issues that I had with this movie overall. I really love that they spent time with Shadow's backstory. As somebody that wasn't really familiar with the backstory, but just seen some explainer videos about how tragic Shadow's beginnings are, they do a really good job of pulling those heartstrings, because when you have the backstory of Shadow and Maria played by Aliyah Brown, they do a really good job of getting you invested in that friendship, so that when the things go bad and things go south, it really does pull an emotional punch. And Keanu Reeves is fantastic as Shadow. It took me a little while for me to get used to the voice coming out of Shadow, but once you're locked into the movie and you go along for the ride, it just becomes natural and really flowing. I do love a lot of the humor in here. It's a little bit more campier than the first two films. This one does go a little bit overboard, especially with a lot of one-liners. There is a great fourth wall breaking joke in here that had my whole auditorium laughing, including me. There are some jokes here and there that work, others that could have been fleshed out a little bit better, but I think that is really the charm that you have with the Sonic movies. It's really the camaraderie between Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, and you get a lot of that from beginning to end. You really enjoy the camaraderie between this trio, and that's something that I really wanted this movie to deliver, and I got that. Jim Carrey is working overtime as Gerald Robotnik and Eggman, and he absolutely delivers. If there's one thing that really overshadows Shadow, is Jim Carrey as both Robotniks. I think he did a really good job of portraying both of them in such a different light because of both of their stories. He was given this task of playing both characters, and he pulled it off in a masterclass of acting, because these two are completely different but also the same in a way. They're both coming in from different times, and you just see that progressional shift between both of them. From the moment that you see Robotnik, how he is current day, I could watch an Eggman solo film with just Jim Carrey and I will be thrilled. The prosthetics that he has when he portrays Gerald is absolutely fantastic, and it works. Everything about that plot and the relationship between Gerald and Shadow, I thought it was done really well in a time when I didn't know if it was actually going to work, and it definitely works. Some of the issues that I have with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, some of the background characters I was not the biggest fan of. Kristen Ritter's in this movie, and I don't think they gave her a lot of meat to work with. She was just a forgettable villain, and I kind of wish they had a little bit more for her to work with, but she was just generic, and her subplot really didn't work for me. Just wish that they would be able to flesh that character out a little bit more. Some of the humor here and there worked for me, but I feel like a lot of that has to do with the tone. At times, it wants to be really dark, especially when it comes down to Shadow's backstory, and then we go into a light-hearted moment, which work, and I think sometimes those balances actually do work to have a really cohesive story, but sometimes it doesn't really mesh well, and that's something that I kind of wish they had a little bit more of in here. I kind of wish they had a little bit more of Shadow's backstory and spending just a little bit more time between him and Maria so it can be fully invested, and those emotional gut punches can just hit me just a little bit harder. But when those emotional moments hit, they hit. Really, for me personally, there really wasn't a lot of surprises. You know exactly how this movie is going to end, you know the beats that it's going to take, and it's pretty much the same beats that we've seen in Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2. It takes the same exact beats, and it doesn't really do anything new. But those are just small gripes that I had with the movie. Overall, it's still a really enjoyable movie. The humor hit, the action is well done. I think this is the best action that we've seen out of the entire trilogy, and I really love the design and look of Shadow. I think the CGI in here is a big step up from the first two films, and I think it works better in here. And overall, I do think this is the best of the trilogy, just not by a mile. I think it's just barely better than the first two movies, which I really enjoy, and I really enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Just wish I had a little bit more meat to this movie. Overall, if you're a fan of the first two films or a fan of the games, you're going to come out really enjoying this movie, especially when we get to the post-credit scenes of the movies, because that is the biggest cheer that I've heard all year round. But those are my thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.